Ever wondered how an entire nation could be swayed by one of the most destructive ideologies in history? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the Third Reich to uncover the chilling secrets behind Nazi strategy. It wasn't just about military might, it was a masterclass in psychological manipulation that began long before the first shots were fired. Let's dive deep into the dark arts of persuasion that fueled their terrifying rise to power. At the heart of the Nazi machine was a relentless propaganda engine. This wasn't just about posters and rallies, it was a sophisticated system designed to seize and hold absolute control. Joseph Goebbels, the Minister of Propaganda, famously said, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it." This philosophy was the cornerstone of their strategy. They understood that controlling the narrative meant controlling the people. Every newspaper, every radio broadcast, every film was a tool to shape public opinion, creating a single, deafening echo chamber that drowned out all dissent. So how exactly did they do it? The Nazis were masters of emotional appeal. They didn't just present facts, they sold a feeling. They tapped into the deep-seated fears and frustrations of the German people, who were reeling from the humiliation of World War I and the economic devastation of the Great Depression. The Nazis offered a seductive promise, a return to national pride, economic stability, and a glorious future. They created a powerful sense of community and belonging, a Volksgemeinschaft, or people's community, for those who fit their narrow racial ideal. This feeling of unity was intoxicating. It made people feel like they were part of something bigger than themselves, a grand, historic movement to restore Germany's greatness. This strategy was incredibly effective because it bypassed rational thought. Instead of debating policy, the Nazis crafted powerful emotional narratives. They presented themselves not as politicians, but as saviors. They were the strong leaders who would protect the German people from all threats, both internal and external. Their rallies were not political meetings, they were quasi-religious spectacles, complete with dramatic lighting, rousing music, and seas of marching followers. The swastika, the uniforms, the salutes, all were carefully designed symbols meant to evoke feelings of power, order, and destiny. They appealed directly to people's hopes for a better life and their fears of chaos and decline, positioning themselves as the only solution. A crucial and sinister part of this emotional manipulation was the creation of a common enemy. To build unity among their supporters, the Nazis needed to define an us versus them. They systematically demonized Jewish people, communists, intellectuals, and anyone who didn't fit their Aryan ideal. Through relentless propaganda, these groups were blamed for all of Germany's problems: the economic collapse, the military defeat, the moral decay. They were portrayed as subhuman, as parasites, as a threat to the very existence of the German race. This constant campaign of hatred served a dual purpose. It gave the German people a simple target for their anger and fear, and it reinforced the idea that the Nazis were the nation's protectors. This demonization narrative was the darkest pillar of their strategy. By painting their chosen enemies as an existential threat, the Nazis could justify any action taken against them, no matter how brutal. They weren't just persecuting people, they were defending the German nation. This narrative allowed them to escalate from discrimination to expropriation, to forced emigration, and ultimately to genocide. It created a moral framework where horrific acts were seen as necessary and even heroic. Ordinary citizens were either convinced to participate in this persecution or were too intimidated to speak out against it. The Nazis presented themselves as the guardians of racial purity and national security, and this lie became the justification for unimaginable atrocities. Looking back, the Nazi strategy is a terrifying case study in the power of propaganda. It shows how a combination of emotional manipulation, the creation of a common enemy, and total control of information can lead a sophisticated modern nation down a path of destruction. They didn't just conquer with armies, they conquered with words, with symbols, and with carefully crafted lies that preyed on the deepest human emotions. Understanding this dark chapter of history isn't just about learning facts, it's a vital lesson for today. It reminds us to be critical of the information we consume, to question leaders who appeal to our fears instead of our reason, and to always stand up against the demonization of any group of people. The tactics used by the Third Reich are not confined to the history books. Echoes of them can be seen in political movements around the world today. Recognizing them is the first step in ensuring that such a tragedy can never happen again. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most important and cautionary tales. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content that explores the complexities of our past. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Stay curious, stay critical, and I'll see you in the next one.